Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for tuning in. I just have glue here that's going to drip out. We're doing something, okay, I'm going to say different because it sounds nicer than a little weird. But I have this thought in my head. Have you seen those bottles that have just this raised outline of a stylized face on them, and then they're all painted solid? So this is my sketch. Can you guys see that? So I just had it in my head that I think I could make that. And inevitably what happens is when I have that in my head, I have to do it, or I can't stop thinking about it. So what I'm going to do, so I just have an empty wine bottle that my husband was kind enough to empty for me. And I have some air dried clay. So I am just going to take off a little bit of this. And I'm just going to kind of work it in my hands. And I'm going to, oh, there's a little piece. And then once I've softened it a bit, mine might need to have a little bit of a damp towel added in there. It's getting a little too hard. But once I have it a little bit uniform, I'm just going to roll it out into a thin rope. Now, I had debated not using the clay and using a rope instead and dip it into white glue to use for this. But I thought it would be messy. And I wasn't sure if it'd be all rough, and I wanted kind of a smoother texture on it. So I'm trying it this way, but know that my head has gone to alternative methods and means. So I'm just going to get this rolled out, and it really isn't hard. It's just right now my clay isn't so uniform, so I just want to be pushing it in together so it'll roll out kind of nicely. Otherwise, I'll go open a fresh one and it'll roll nicer. But I'm going to get this rolled, and then I'll pull you in over top so you can see what I'm doing, because we got to get this glued in place and let it dry before we can do anything else. Okay, I just have an old cloth here to be able to hold my bottle in place. And I just want to, there's kind of my rough pattern, just sort of put this roughly into shape. And I have an X-Acto knife to cut off the excess right now. This is one I want to glue down first. This is the beginning of the eye arch, and then the nose and the little, I forget the name of that line. So I'm going to just flip it over here and just roughly, and I'm just using a wood glue. You could use any kind of tacky glue of your choice, anything that you think would adhere onto glass. But I'm just getting some glue on so it will adhere. I don't want it too gluey or else it'll start sliding around. I'm going to clean up the bottle. Never fear. All right, so there's the beginning. And I just want the excess glue gone so that when I go to paint, I don't have big glue ridges. Okay, so that's roughly that. I need another piece to finish off the eye. That one might be a little fat. So right to there. Glue it. All right, sometimes, guys, these thoughts are in my head, and you know, occasionally I get this far in a project and I think, okay, that thought shouldn't have been there. You got to do what you got to do. You just got to try these things. Like sometimes it turns out really cool, and other times it's, what was I thinking? So for the mouth, I just kind of want it in a soft M kind of shape. Okay, you might as well have a big mouth. Why not? So again, just gluing the back. And sticking it in place. I'll take another little piece of my clay rope. And we'll glue that. And then we're doing nothing overnight. So I want this to dry thoroughly before I then look at painting. And just for ease of use, I am likely going to use a fusion paint, which will stick to the glass, and it's an all-in-one. So once I've painted, I'm going to be good to go. But okay, sort of looks like my picture. I did say stylized. Our face has had overnight to dry. And this is really done very kind of modern lines, right? You could, in fact, mold more of a face, like a facier face on there if you like. I was trying to do something sort of modern, which is not my usual thing. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to step outside your comfort zone and try something different. So what I am looking at doing is now getting a couple of coats of paint on this. For this, I'm using Fusion All-in-One because then it's already sealed. But what I want to do is just make sure that I get down into, you know, all the nooks and crannies. I want all of that to be filled in nicely. So all the little cracks around it, because it's kind of a rounded surface. And then just get a nice smooth texture happening around it. So you can see the idea with this is that it's just gonna be very monochrome. So I'm gonna get 2 coats of paint on this, at least. And I have another one, because I thought they needed a pair. So I have another one that I'm gonna do in like an eggshell blue, because that's another color of Fusion that I had open. So you can see 2 color variations. But I'm gonna get my 2 coats. If I need 3, I'll do 3. So, you know, whatever paint that you're doing, especially your call as to whether or not you want to distress this, because I'm going in my head a little bit more modern looking. I'm just looking for one smooth uniform color on this. If you wanted, of course, you could paint this in maybe like an all-in-one paint, let it dry, and then use like a chalk type paint or like my clay-based DIY paint and distress back to this so that this stands out more. Or you could use like some dark wax or decrepit dust in around all the crevices to age it out. For once, I'm not aging things. And if you follow me, you know that I like aging them. I like doing that. I like the treatment. I like multiple colors on it. This is just going outside of my norm, outside of my normative pattern. I'm doing something that's a little bit more modern and mod in design, and I'm going super simple and keeping it crisp, clean lines. For those of you that like that and have been asking for it, I'm trying. Let me get a couple of paint coats on, and then we'll come back and take a look. Our bottle is done. Now, this was a very different thing for me to try. You guys challenged me. Well, not all of you. I was challenged to do something modern. So here's this guy. And I also did it in the French eggshell blue. Just, cause. And I gotta tell you, I don't hate it. It's not my normal thing. I would be more inclined to have done, an aged bottle, make it look like it was Victorian era or something. So it's kind of good sometimes to play outside of your wheelhouse and take on a challenge that isn't your normal thing. First of all, because you guys don't all love everything I love. That just makes sense. I don't even have to know you to know that to be true. So if I'm going to be trying to give you different ideas for your home, for your booth, perhaps for markets that you sell at, then I gotta try different things. I've got to go outside of my comfort zone and, doing something that was kind of that modern design. I wanted a face that wasn't necessarily a face. I mean, you can tell, I'm hoping you can tell that these are faces, certainly more face-inspired designs and a little bit more modernistic, but kind of cool and super simple. So they were very fast, very quick. If nothing else, then I think that this gives you an idea of other versions that you can do and other things that you could maybe play with. The fusion painted onto these bottles like a dream. It really only took 2 coats of coverage, and look how smooth that is. You saw, I just used a little dollar store brush like this to apply it. So I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, you got to use a roller to get a smooth coverage. I mean, there's no brush marks on there. That looks awesome. So excellent coverage, good adhesion onto the bottles. I didn't have any trouble with it, and I kind of like the sort of matte look. I mean, you could certainly make them go glossy if you want to by adding a top coat, but this has got a built-in sealer. It's kind of unnecessary, and I sort of like them in the matte. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. A little bit out there. Appreciate hearing from you as always, and I definitely look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.